All right, so Bruce, if you're on the call, mate, if you just want to unmute yourself, and we'll see if we can get started. We've got a nice, healthy crowd going on. Welcome to everybody, especially the newcomers.
Oh, I had the mute on, did I?
You had the mute on, mate, and that's fine.
All right.
So let's do a scenario now where we test your share screen, Bruce, and we'll see if we can kick it off, mate.
All right, let's go.
I've made you a co-host, douche.
Made me a co. I don't have the slide pack. Just to let you know.
No, but I just made you a co-host. So.
Okay, thanks, buddy. No worries. There we go.
Here we go.
Is Benjamin the president on the call? Does he want to introduce? Yep. You might be on mute, Ben.
No, just got that. First of all, I need to thank Stephen Barnes there, which is just kicking back with the headphones on, for obviously letting us and setting up the Zoom meeting tonight, using his channel. Bruce is one of these chaps that just helps and helps, and in an indirect way, I remember I've talked already about my first trout ever. Of course, I'm a BMS, and that was kind of special for me because it was Muzz's fly. But I remember distinctly seeing articles written by Bruce about his fly fishing, especially for smelters, a place in Newlands. And funny thing was that Newlands at the time was a water supply, and you weren't meant to wait it. Bruce is good enough to get a photo of himself in the middle of Newlands, basically with about a 4-pound smelter. So that was pretty special, and then I guess he got me motivated to get out there and have a crack, and I did that. And Newlands was my first, and the first place I caught a trout, caught on a MS on a smelt pattern. So, and every time that Bruce is around, he just wants to help. So he's helped this club a whole lot, been to a few times, and I'm really glad that I can present tonight. So thank you, Stephen, and thank you, Bruce.
No worries, thanks, Ben. Thanks for that introduction. Yeah, Ben, Newlands, I think, is one of the lakes that, all beginners start off their fly fishing with, like within the Melbourne district. And it's a great lake, Newlands. It's just fantastic. It's got basically everything. And as you'll see when we talk, I'll talk more about Newlands and some of the different things that I've experienced on Newlands. And yeah, but it's a great lake, that area there. And yeah, Ben, and I'd just like to congratulate yourself, Ben, for your sort of like adventures into native fly fishing, going to the native fish. I reckon it's just fantastic. You sort of love it more than trout, I would say, and but it's fantastic in the reasoning that you've got yourself getting a lot of experience. I've done I wouldn't have done it sort of any native fly fishing whatsoever. I think I caught a Murray kite, a little baby one, out of the Murray River once, but while he was a beautiful little fish, yeah, that's the extent of my native fly fishing, and it's great that you're sort of like the new frontier, going into the new frontier of fly fishing, Ben. So I'd like to congratulate you on that.
Yeah, Bruce. Cheers, mate.
No worries. All right. So when do we want to get this started? Are we going to start it now, or? Yep, keep going.
Yep.
Yeah, we can go for it, Ben, Brucey. Yep.
Or do you want to wait a bit longer, or I don't know?
No. We've got a healthy crowd and people are still trickling in, but I think we can kick it off.
All right, kick it off. No worries.
Thanks, buddy. Go for it.
Great. All right, guys. I'll just introduce myself. If you don't know me, my name's Bruce Smith, and I've been fly fishing for, 30, 35 years, 40 years. And I started when I was about 16, 17, and now I'm 60. So you can tell it's a lot of years. And I joined the Sunshine Fly Fishing Club. And I sort of like got a lot of tips from people like Ron Masson, who was the founder of the Sunshine Fly Casting Club, and I met a lot of my friends and that from the Sunshine Fly Casting Club, like Andy Scott, who's represented Australia and also the state championships. He does a lot of competition fly fishing and a whole host of different people. And I've just basically gone out and while I've learnt from a lot of different people, you know, I think that I've learnt most of my fly fishing just getting out there and experimenting and doing different fly fishing, you know, sort of like techniques and fishing different lakes and just getting a whole host of experience. You know, probably 10 years ago, I dove firstly into saltwater fly fishing. And, you know, geez, what a lot of time I've sort of like wasted there. You know, I wish I had have taken up saltwater fly fishing a lot long ago than that, because it's just a great part of fly fishing. And, you know, and now we've got people getting into native fish, so it's just getting bigger and better. So that's fantastic. So that's basically my experience in fly fishing. At the moment, I've got on YouTube a channel called In Nature's Realm. Now on there, I put up videos normally of me fly fishing adventures, but with this pandemic going around, it's been very hard to get out, and so that's stopped me from doing that. But I'm having great fun tying up flies and putting them up on YouTube to show different people, you know, the different flies out there. And what I try to do with me videos is bring up flies that people don't really know about. You know what I mean? Like everyone knows, you know, woolly buggers and, you know, your common type flies. But what I'm trying to do is to pick flies that a lot of people don't know. And so, you know, I've got some sort of like great references from, you know, books, and I've even got the Southern Fly Fishing Club newsletters. I collected a few of them, and there's a lot of fly patterns in there that are really good flies, and a lot of people don't know about them. And my intention is to bring out flies that are going to sort of like, you know, people, you know, be introduced to these new patterns. There's one pattern that I've got coming up on the channel. It represents an adult dragonfly. Now, it's in the book Ripples, Runs and Rises by David Scholes. And this fly, it is so hard and complex. It's going to be a challenge to show everyone. But I really want to, and while I haven't had much success with it, what I want to do is get people to tie up this adult dragonfly, go out, try it, and see how much success they do get. And I hope a lot of people get back to me with that. So that's my intention with my fly tying on my YouTube channel, is to introduce people to new flies. So that's enough of me there. So now let's get into the presentation. Well, I'll start it off. Can everyone see that come up? No worries?
Yep.
No worries, great. Okay, I thought I'd start off with Lake Windaree. Now, Lake Windaree, it's a great lake, and it produces a lot of fish and great fly fishing from either the bank and also mainly from the boat. A lot of people use boats to fish Lake Windaree. But personally, I don't like fishing the lake for the simple reason I like to go out and fly fish to be amongst nature and to be out in the bush and in the wild elements and so forth. So that's what I love about fly fishing. And you tend to, when you're bank fishing, you miss that. You've got people walking behind you, you've got buildings everywhere. It sort of takes that nature-ish feel away from it. So I tend not to fish Lake Windaree. I very seldom do fish Lake Windaree myself. The only times I have fished it is one time from the bank and a couple of times from the boat. And I remember having my first competition fly fishing was at Lake Windaree. It was a state championships, and I went out there and yeah, I quite enjoyed myself fishing from the boat. You know, it's like when you fish Purrumbete and Bullamerra, only on a smaller scale, I guess. You know what I mean? But for people out there that want to give Lake Windaree a go, yeah, there's some great opportunities for fishing there. You know, you've got great nighttime fly fishing. A lot of my friends fish at night, especially when the mud-eye hatches are on. and they are very successful in catching nice sized fish, up to 4 and 5 pounds. So, the opportunities there are just fantastic. Yeah, that's sort of like my extent on Lake Windaroo. And like I say, I don't fish it much, so I can't really give any personal hints and so forth. But there would be a lot of the Ballarat fly fishing guys that go there. I know Shane Stevens, he loves fishing that lake, and Shane's a great bloke. I know Shane quite well, and he loves that lake for sure. So, there's nothing, there's some great opportunities there. So, yeah, so that's Lake Windaroo. So any of you first time fly fishermen out there, yeah, give Lake Windaroo a go. Quite easy to get to, right in the heart of Ballarat there. And as you can see, I've got the satellite photo up there. If any of you guys, is there any Ballarat fly fishers on now that can tell me, looking at that satellite photo there, what that is in the middle? Is that all weed beds that are really high up, is it? Is there anyone that might be able to help me there?
It's a grass bed that runs right through, and you can actually get in through the centre there and ride right through the middle of that. Right. Water depth's about 3 metres, but yeah, very fishable all through there, and basically right around into there. A lot of us do a lot down the sand of the lake. Yeah. But depends on where the grass cutters are going from. Yeah. They'll come in from the sand and they'll just play in around here. There is a little cafe up around here. Mm-hmm. And if the water's not too high, you can do pretty good catching along the wall through to about where the old rowing lanes are up in this area here.
Oh, I don't know. And how often do they cut the grass? Like, is it once a year? Is it?
No, daily.
Oh, daily?
Mm-hmm.
Kidding me?
Yeah, because
isn't that where they ran the Olympic rowing competitions one year?
Yes, it went from that end basically right up. The lanes are all still there. The toughest part about fishing from that end to that end, even though the lane ropes are up, but I think it's every third buoy, there's a red buoy on top. What happens is the lanes run across the lake, so going across the rowing lanes. So mm-hmm. you got lanes running up, and then some going across, and then the yellow ones go directly down. So if you hook up a trout anywhere in there, good luck, because they know where those rope lanes are, and they'll wrap you around those red ones.
Really? That's incredible.
But it is possible to do.
Yeah. And does it dirty up the lake if they're cutting it every day? Does it create any turbidity within the water there?
Yes and no. It's more the weather, I think.
Okay, more the weather, yeah.
But no, we've always seen and caught a lot of ours, like I said, down the sand of the lake.
Mm. Okay, that's fantastic. All right, well, let's get on to the next lake that I want to talk about, and that's Newlands Reservoir. Well, again, you can see the satellite photo there. It's, as I said, so heavily fished, it's not funny, and it always produces trout. They stock the lake on an annual basis, and if we didn't have that, we'd be in trouble. But yeah, it's a great lake, and I'll just go to the next slide, and we'll discuss. Now, the great thing about Newlands is it's got great mayfly hatches. I just love it there for the mayfly hatches. Now, mayfly hatches there sort of start around about around about November, I suppose. As soon as the weather starts getting better and the temperature rises, and I firmly believe that with mayfly hatches, it's got to do with the temperature rises, because I don't know if you guys know, when you go up to Harcourt Reservoir, you get the mayfly hatches up at Harcourt in September. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised, you know, next influx of warm weather we get, we'll start getting hatches in the middle of September up at Harcourt. And so that's why I feel that, you know, the hatches are dependent on temperature. You know?
Bruce, quick one, just for Dushan here.
Yep.
Since they did the work at Harcourt, have the hatches come back? Like I know Ben was saying that they hadn't really recovered a while back. I'm just wondering how it's going now.
I know a friend up there by the name of Paul McGrath. He used to be one of my workmates when we were meat inspectors, and he's fly fished that area, and he just told me recently that the mayfly hatches are still there, just not to the number. I don't know if people remember, probably about how long ago was it? Oh no, but it was probably about 6-7 years ago, could have been longer. We had just fantastic mayfly hatches, and we were catching trout out of Harcourt. They were really, you know, fantastic. Like average, I reckon, was around about a pound, you know what I mean? And that's saying something for those lakes, you know what I mean? And you were catching them up to 4 or 5 pounds. It was incredible. But but with Harcourt, that really demonstrates, you know, how temperature, I feel, has the effect of the hatches. So Newlands has some great hatches. Now, if we go back to the satellite photo, now around, can you see my cursor going around? Can you see that? Or you can't?
Yeah, we can, Bruce. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, great, excellent. So up at this end of the lake here, around here, wherever there's great populations of rocks, that's where the greater hatches of mayfly are going to come off. And I find this area just here has great mayfly hatches in and around there. Also, when we go up to this, which would be the western wall there, or not the wall, that's the wall, but you come around where the farmers are, along this section here, there's some great hatches of mayfly there. And, sorry, yeah, someone want to say something? No? Okay.
I'm on a bike.
Is that you, Ben, is it? No? Okay. Anyway, so the mayfly hatches are great along there, and that's for duns and emerging nymphs. They sort of like come off in a big way. So you need to walk to that end of the lake to really get into the great hatches. And the great thing about this section here, it's really high up in elevation, and you can look down. It's probably up about, I don't know, 10, 20 feet above the water, and you can, with Polaroid sunglasses, you can actually Polaroid the trout in and along that area there. Now with the spinners, obviously the northern shoreline is going to be the greatest area for the mayfly spinners, and even though they're all around the lake. But I mean, when you've got a northerly wind, that really calms off, and that's what the spinners want. They want calm water so that they can lay their eggs and reproduce. And so you get a lot of good spinners hatches around that northern shoreline. So that's just a little bit of a tip for you there. Now, if we go back to the next slide again. Now it says here, I've put down here, watch for stoneflies. Now, a number of times, and the first time I was on Newlands, I saw trout rising and there was duns everywhere. So I put on a dun pattern like you would, okay, cast out my stonefly, and they wouldn't touch it. Kept casting, wouldn't touch it. And it wasn't until I actually looked on the water surface that there were these small black stoneflies. And that's what the trout were actually feeding on. And it amazed me. And so I just got a fly that was nearest to in size, shape and colour, cast it out and bang, started catching trout. So when you are on Newlands Reservoir, during a mayfly dun hatch, watch out for these little small black stoneflies. They're probably about a size 14 hook, I'd say, in size. Very skinny in their wing, so they've got a very slender body, and jet black. So have a look at that next time you are fortunate enough to be up there when the duns are hatching and so forth. Also, Newlands is great for ant falls. Now, this is amazing, because there's not much vegetation really, apart from the the western side and along the northern shoreline where we've got a lot of vegetation in a lot of trees and so forth. But you do get great hatches of ants and getting blown onto the water, all right, from the trees and so forth. So that's another great thing that I've noticed about Newlands Reservoir. And they sort of happen around late summer, almost into autumn, when the ants sort of get blown onto the water there. Now, another tip that you can all get onto is that during the summertime, I remember Andrew Scott, who I do a lot of fly fishing with, he told me about this and it was fantastic. He told me about the bush flies that harbour in the grasses and the tussock grass. And on a real windy day, these bush flies get blown into the water and the trout actually rise to them. And when it happens, well, I haven't got a fly pattern, but I just put on a black ant, which was close enough to it, and bang, started catching fish. And you could actually see these bush flies floating on the surface of the water. It was amazing. So they get blown onto the water. So next time you're there and you see some trout rising and you can't catch them or you don't know what they're on, get into the water and have a good look. You'll be amazed. You really will. Now, another great aspect of Newlands Reservoir is the old road. Now, in the next photo, you'll get a really good shot of the old road there, as you can see it there. Now, this is fantastic, guys. The trout really cruise in along the old road. And, you can even have a lot of success when the water is over the road, say ankle deep over the road. And what's dangerous about that, well, not dangerous, but you've got to be careful, is that when you are walking, you might not be able to see the road and you could go over to the edge, as you're sort of like halfway out. So be very careful of that. Try and look for the white pebbles that you can see along there as a safety factor so that you can see where you're walking. But you can walk out along that old road there and you can get some great fishing, especially, the direction he's facing, and that's where your main trout are. But even behind, a lot of trout get trapped in there and harbour in there. So that's another good point. So don't disregard casting your fly into that area if you're searching for trout in that. Anyone else want to talk about the old road there? Any experiences with people? Anyone? Anyone had any experiences there?
Before the lockdown, just recently, myself and Chris were fishing the wall, the road, yep. Sorry, the old road. It was about ankle deep, Chris, if I remember. And I had a fish tailing in front of me, probably 15 metres away, give or take, and he was rummaging on something on the floor, and I didn't have much time to think about what he was fishing, what he was taking, and I happened to have just a woolly bugger on, so I did have a cast at him, got his attention, and he did bow wave towards the fly. He was coming towards it, and then just wasn't interested enough, and had another cast at him, and then I spooked him. So they're definitely there, and I did see a lot of other fish cruising around. Just trying to remember what time of year that was. I don't know if Simon's on the call. Simon, when was the session when we went to Talbot Reservoir down past the last club trip? Just trying to remember when we went. Was that in May or was it June? I can't remember. Does anyone remember on the call? No. But yeah, other than that, on the eastern side, just before that bend when you come into the river, always had really good nunhatches there, but the grass is always big, and everyone knows me, I'm petrified of snakes. So I have to build up a lot of courage to walk that bank down there. But it always seems to be really good nunhatches just along that high bank there. Always really early November. So if you can put the yards in, then yeah, you'll definitely get a hatch or two throughout the day along that side.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's a great area to fish there, and the best fly that I find, and it's probably more of the fact that I've got a lot of confidence in my fly that I use, which is the bag fly. Now, the bag fly, I tie it just slightly different. Instead of using the original, I think it's black hackle fibres for the throat, I use red, and that was shown and demonstrated to me by Ron Masson. And ever since I've tied that bag fly up, and I just catch a hell of a lot of fish out of Newlands Reservoir. It's just amazing, guys. So, it could be just more a factor of confidence. I'm not too sure, but the great thing about it, it works just under the water surface. You know what I mean? Probably about 2-3 inches under the water surface, and that could be a big factor as well. So the bag fly is one fly that I like to use there. But there's a number of different other flies, your Klauser minnows. You've got a whole host of different, smelting flies that you can select, and whatever favourite you've got, definitely cast it out. But that old road there is just fantastic fishing from. It really is good. So that's basically it on Newlands. Anyone got any questions in regards to Newlands?
Yeah, what's the water level like up there at the moment?
I heard it's probably around about 80%, something like that. It could even be with that, that big dumping of rain we had.
It's about a foot from spilling over the spillway.
Oh.
Yeah.
95. It's 95% almost.
Oh, beautiful. Okay. Yeah.
And it's rather dirty at the moment.
Yeah,
wow.
We had that big influx of rain we had, I reckon would have done that. So that's fantastic news, you know what I mean? It's if we get out of this lockdown and we can go out fishing, it's going to be terrific to go there and give it a fish. It'll be just fantastic. So, yeah. Any other questions in regards to Newlands? No? All right, let's go to the next slide. And I'll hear some photos there of Newlands there. There's
Bruce, can you show where the old road is on the map?
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, two slides back. We've got a few people asking.
Yeah, right. So the old road runs from, if you look at my cursor there, it runs, there's a cove right here, okay, in the side of Newlands. And you can park your car just around that area there. And then just round about there where the point of my cursor is, that's where the old road sort of like starts at that end. And then it goes straight across over to the other side there, around about in that area there. So it's like a direct line across that section of the lake there. Now, if you get onto my YouTube videos, I've got a video up there on Newlands where I got my drone and I flew over when it was really low. And what I did was I got some great footage of the actual old road. You can see it exactly where it is, because, I'm up around 400 feet and I'm videoing from that height, and you can see everything. And another thing what you can see is, this area here and that point right there? Well, you've got the old river course that used to go through Newlands, right? Now what happens is, when it gets to there, the old river course almost touches that point there. So if you're fly fishing off that point there and you're working your fly, you'd be working it in the old riverbed, all right? So there's a point there. But if you get onto my YouTube channel, you'll see the drone footage that I've got. It's quite amazing. The drone, I go from the northern shoreline all the way up and up through this bay here, right up to the top here. And I film it all. It's quite amazing how far you can go with your drones, you know what I mean? It's just amazing. And and you'll be fascinated. You can see weed beds, you can see everything, and you'll get a lot of sort of like ideas as to where to go. But that blew my mind, that where the old riverbed just comes in really close to that point right there. Fantastic, So So is everyone happy? Know what I'm talking about now there? Just from that point there, the old road to there, across there.
I was going to say the swamp is quite nice where your cursor was, where the road starts on the western bank as well. Bruce, To the right, yeah, in that little swampy section. That
Yeah, there.
Really good as well. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's where I caught that's actually where I caught my first trout, where Steve Vale ran into me.
In that cove, I caught a trout there, 8 pound out of that.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. So it's a great little area, that cove there. I think it's got a lot of weed beds, a lot of food there for the trout and so forth. So yeah, definitely good. And don't disregard the damn wall over. You'd be amazed, and especially when it's low. A lot of islands appear, and you can actually wade out in between all of these islands there, and you can basically wade out to around about this area here, and actually right out into the middle. One year over there, I remember fishing it, and when you're fishing between these islands, it's amazing. You know, some of the fish you do manage to catch every now and then. It's incredible, you know. So yeah, but have a look at that drone footage, and you'll see everything there. It's just fantastic. So yeah. Any other questions? No? All right. Cool. All right, let's continue on, and I'll just show you. Okay, there's Johnny, my friend Johnny there, fishing away there. Yeah, that's probably, you know, it's a bit above average for new ones, I would say, you know, as an average size trout. But, you know, like I say, you can get them up to 8 pounds. That's the biggest I've ever caught. But I have seen a few other people with fish that probably nudging a little bit more than that. But yeah, it's great. All right, now we come to the sister lake of Newlands Reservoir, and that's Hepburn Lagoon. Now, Hepburn Lagoon is another fantastic lake, guys. It's just it's probably another lake that gets heavily fished. And some of the key spots on the lake are probably along the northern shoreline. Now, as you can see on this satellite photo, that's where you can drive. I think that is the road that you can drive through the farmer's property. Make sure you shut the gates there, guys, all right? Because he has got sheep and so forth there. So always make sure you close the gate. Come through this dirt road up to the retaining wall. It's like a little tiny wall area there, and you can park your car in that area. And then fishing in that little cove there can produce some good fish. But the northern shoreline all along here, there's some fantastic fishing. There really is. And one person said to me, and I don't know how true this is, but this area here, which is like in elevation, it's a big hill, all right? So, you know, from there you would have to walk uphill to get up to that road there. So it's a very steep climb. Someone was saying to me that the underneath there is all sort of like granite. And so when it rains, a lot of the water and all the worms and whatever food that is amongst the land there gets washed in around that area there. So if it has been raining, you know, make a beeline to that area there, and you'll probably have a lot more success with your flies and so forth. Other good areas, you know, basically all the lake you can catch fish from. There's no worries about that. But I find too around this area where this is the dairy farm at this end, and my cursor's playing up on me. Yeah. Now this bay here, and along here, that's the dairy farm there. You park your car there at that end, and you can walk down along that road there and into there and along there. And you get some great mayfly hatches from here, which is amazing too. I've seen some hatches that you wouldn't believe along there. And even around here is pretty good too. But, you know, basically the whole lake will produce fish. There's no worries about that. It's just certain times, you know, certain areas produce better fishing. So it's a really good lake to fish. So let's just talk about that. Now, Hepburn Lagoon, I find, has great damsel nymph hatches. You get a lot, there's a big population of damsel nymphs, and you'll see that in the spring and in the summer when the actual damsel flies will be flying around. So the nymphs are in a big population. And I remember going back years ago when the lake was super clear. You could actually, and what happened was there wasn't as many weed beds along this. If I go back again to the satellite photo, these around this area here was all clear of weed beds, and it was a sandy bottom. And you could actually see trout shooting in from towards the shoreline, chasing damsel nymphs. It was incredible, and it was just amazing. It just highlighted to me how many damsel nymphs actually crawl out to the edges and hatch out. You know what I mean? So it's a good area along there for the damsel nymphs and so forth. Other good hatches again, mayfly hatches, really good. Would you compare them with Newlands? I reckon probably the same, if not, it's sometimes better. You know what I mean? It all depends when you get there, guys. You know what I mean? Like the mayfly hatches on certain days, reach their peak. And if you're there when it's at their peak, you could think you're in Tasmania. But, other times, if you're not there at the peak, you're not going to be see as many hatches of mayfly. But yeah, compared with Newlands, I would say it would be the same.
Quick one, Bruce.
Yeah.
When are you going to, on your channel, when are you going to tie your damsel nymph? Because that's a cracker, mate. When are you going to tie that one up?
Oh yeah, I've got the damsel nymph video there, Ben.
Okay, I'll have to have a look. Yeah.
Yeah. Have a look. It's I don't know which number it is, because I've got about 43 up there at the moment, so it's hard to remember. But I've got that one there. So if anyone wants to tie the damsel nymph, and that was shown to me by fly fisherman John Rumpf. John ties his damsel nymphs like that, so super thin, so slender, and the tiniest of eyes. And that's what he emphasised as to its success. And I've always tied that fly, and I've had a lot of success with it. But yeah, watch that video, and I'll show you how to tie that. There's also awesome beetle falls on around summertime on Hepburn Lagoon. Really good beetle falls, and more terrestrial beetles than aquatic beetles. Okay, so that's a major point that I'd like to point out there. But really good ones around summer, and also bait fish and smelt. At times they can be prolific, guys. Really good action. Even though I've noticed over the last, say, 10 years, all the smelting action in all the lakes has dramatically fallen. I don't know why. I wouldn't have a clue why it's fallen. But, going back 20, 30 years ago when we fished Newlands and Hepburn Lagoon, the population of the smelt were incredible. During rain, you'd see smelt shimming their way up to the grass. It was incredible when they were breeding and so forth. So I don't know what's happened and why they've decreased. Has anyone else noticed that? Did any of you local guys that have fished those two lakes as well? Anyone noticed the smelting and bait fish decline? No? So does anyone think it's still good as gold? Anyone disagree with me? No? All right. Okay. So Hepburn Lagoon, like I say, guys, great lake to fish, and don't give it a go this spring as well. You'll see some great fishing. Any questions on Hepburn?
Yeah, mate. I'm not mobile, so I have trouble walking a lot. So it's got to plant in one spot. What's the best places to sort of get in one spot where you don't have to walk too far?
All right, I'll go back for you to the satellite photo. Now, you can drive in, right, at the northern shoreline there where the Farmer's Gate is, right? You get out, drive, and you can drive basically right up to the lake's edge like you would at Newlands, okay? And then you can get out there and have to walk about, 10 yards, if that, and you can be fishing around that area there. And it's good fishing there, fantastic fishing. So that'd be a really good spot. The dairy farm end, I wouldn't recommend because it's very steep, really steep. It'd be, if you've got problems with your legs and that, you'll probably find it hard getting back up. Not going down, you'll probably do going down easy, but coming back up, you're going to find it difficult. But if you can, walk that distance, that's going to be another good area where you could, park yourself in around just that area there and start fly fishing there. You'll be surprised what trout are cruising along there, and good fish too, really big fish. So definitely there. Everywhere else, yeah, a lot of walking involved. So that'd be the two areas, and that'd be the prime area there. What's your name, sorry?
It's Frank.
Okay, Frank. Yeah. So Frank, that's where I'd go. I would go there, Frank. Definitely.
Yeah, just have to prop in a place because I have trouble with my feet at the moment. And I can't walk too far.
Yeah, no worries, Frank. Not a problem. All right. So, any other questions on Hepburn Lagoon?
Do you find it more productive when the wind's blowing up that way, or between Hepburn and Windaree? I think Hepburn's more the open air one, where if the breeze is blowing, especially from that top end where you come in from, it can really affect the fishing along there.
Yeah, and when you say affect the fishing, are you saying like your success in fishing, or
no?
No.
They tend to come back in deeper, I reckon.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah.
It's been a couple of years since I was last up that way, but she was blowing pretty strong, between 30 and 40 knot winds, and very soft underground.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, it was quite hard when the wind's up.
Yeah. Yeah. And
could be right-handed or left-handed caster. Might help, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah, when you get those type of conditions, it can be very hard and so forth. And
because it's so open.
Yeah, so open. Oh, yeah, absolutely. If you can you double haul? What's your name? Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm Ray Rogers from the Ballerine Fly Fishing Association.
No worries, right?
It's me. First time virgin on Zoom, so
yeah.
No,
that's all right. So, Ray, if I don't know if you can single haul and double haul, but if you can do those type of casting, that's going to help you heaps. A lot. So if you're not proficient in those casting styles, practice and it'll improve your fishing no end. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Another thing we do in saltwater, if the wind's blowing that strong, we'll actually cast back into land.
Yeah.
And then send your line out behind you. So you actually...
Oh, yeah, you're facing the shoreline.
Yeah, and doing it that way. That's another good way of casting too.
Yeah, that's a good idea as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or you could cast to the side of yourself, and then you can, at the last cast, just bring it forward and across. So you're like on a 45-degree angle. You know. So that's probably the best thing there. You'll find if you learn single haul and double haul, there's going to be times, Ray, where you're going to have to cast even into the wind and a strong wind, and cut through that wind and get your fly out to them. You're just going to have so much more success. So,
True.
Something that you should try and do there. But,
hey, Bruce, I managed to find your video on YouTube for the damsel fly or the damsel nymph that Ben was referring to. So I've pasted that in the chat, and for anyone that goes on the channel, it's vlog number 40. So
fantastic, yeah, and it's probably the best damsel nymph I've come across thus far. You know what I mean? And it works brilliantly. And the other thing too is, guys, the old question, is it imitation or is it presentation? Right? A lot of people argue that you should have the best presentation. Other people say you should have the best imitation. Well, I simply say you should have the best imitation with the best presentation. You know what I'm saying? So try and tie your flies so that they look the greatest look like the fly. And when you say look like the fly, you need to make sure that it comes alive. So you need to be making your flies out of materials that come alive under the water. So materials like seal's fur, you've got marabou fibres, you've got different sort of like soft fibres that when they're in the water, they pulsate underwater and they're moving, they come alive. That's why if you just tied, or made a fly and it was just hard plastic, it's not going to come alive. So it's not going to be as successful. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that lures aren't successful, and they are quite successful. I remember when I took up fishing when I was real young, before I took up fly fishing, I used to go around with king cobras around Cancurran Reservoir. And king cobras, man, did I catch some fish. But they had an action in them, you know what I mean? They had that curve in the lure. And so there was action actually in the fly. But could you imagine a king cobra that had material on it that actually pulsated and come alive? I think it'd be 10 times more successful. So, that's why flies are such a great way of catching fish. Fly fishing is, the best form of fishing in my mind over any others, just because of those sort of factors. So, yeah. All right, so let's go on.
Just one more question. There's someone's asked, do you use a sinking or floating line for headburn?
That depends on what you're targeting, all right? Now, what people got to realise is that if the trout are feeding on a certain insect, and you know what insect that is, then you've got to get to where that, that food item is, right? So if that food item, say for example, is a yabby, all right? Say they're taking yabbies, well then you need to get your yabby fly down to the bottom, all right? So then you would use a sinking fly line. If your food item is up on just underneath the surface, then you would use an intermediate fly line or a floating fly line with a fly that's going to work just under the surface. So, what dictates what type of fly line you use is what the food item is doing at that time. You know what I mean? Now, if you go in there and you can't see any fish, you can't see any risers, you don't know what the fish are doing, well then you could try a sinking fly line, but chop and change. I would put on a sinking fly line, then an intermediate fly line, and then a floating fly line, so that you're working all columns of the water, all right? That's only if you don't know where the fish are, all right? So you're basically, what that's called is blind fishing, all right? So you're working different flies at different water columns, and that's the best way to approach it, guys, all right? With any of your fly lines there. So you just don't use a one type of fly line and that's it and just stick with it. Yeah, you need to chop and change, all right? Any other questions? All right, let's continue on. Now, here's some photos of Hepburn Lagoon. As you can see there, you get all different water levels on the lake. Sometimes it can be full to the brim, other times it gets down low. And when that does happen, it opens up different opportunities, guys. You know what I mean? So never look at sort of like a lake is very low as being unproductive. It could be really productive for certain food items, all right? So never look at it like that. That's another tip you need to realise. There's Andy Scott there with a trout on there. There's some of the fish that you can get out of Hepburn Lagoon, guys. Really good fish. Probably the best trout I had on. I never landed him. I lost him, but he would have had to have been over 10 pounds, easy, because he was a mile out when he jumped out of the water, and he was huge. And so, there's fish over 10 pound in Hepburn Lagoon. There's no worries about that. And that fish there is a nice, probably, 4 pounds, something like that. Here's another good fish that this ain't my fish. Is a bloke I came across, and he was actually spinning with his lures, and that's the type of fish that you can get out of there. Beautiful in good condition, absolute fantastic condition, really good. There's another photo of it. All right, Now we get to Cosgrove Reservoir. Now, Cosgroves. Now, if you're not familiar where Cosgrove is, if you go to the township of Dean, now there's, well, I don't think it's operating anymore. I'm almost positive it's not operating anymore. There's a pub there, an old pub. It's probably, I don't know, probably pulled down by now, where people used to go for a drink and so forth. And from there, there's a road that leads out to the west. Follow that down that road, and it'll take you to Cosgrove's Reservoir. Now, this lake is a little ripper. It really is, and it's got a great head of redfin, real good population of redfin, and also it produces good. If you use shrimp patterns, I found they work well because there's a great population of shrimp in the actual lake, and also good beetle falls, because around Cosgrove's Reservoir there's a lot of vegetation and trees, especially around this area here, and there's trees everywhere, and so beetles get blown onto the lake on a regular basis, and ants and all types of terrestrial insects. So it's a great one for that. Also, whoop, not too far there. Yeah, also it only gets a small stocking, guys, so that's probably the only downfall that I could pick there with Cosgrove's Reservoir. I think it only gets around about 500 trout, if that, you know what I mean? And I haven't fished it for a long time, so I can't really give you an up-to-date sort of like report on how it's fishing and what the water. I'd say it'd definitely be full. There's no worries about that. I would say if Newlands is dirty, you'd find that Cosgrove's is dirty as well. And we'll go back to the satellite photo there, and I'll just show you here where to get in. This is the main road here that I was talking about from the Dean pub and so forth. You can come up the other way. I think it's, I'm not sure, I think it's Melbourne, Old Melbourne Road. I don't know if you could correct me on that, but coming in that way. And you can drive into this area here, there's a car park there, and then you can walk your way around there. Now there's the dam wall. There's some good fishing along there. But you have to walk good distances there. And there's another back way to get in. If you follow this road here, and around there you come to a little gate. You can get there and park your car there, a little walk, and you're in and around there as well. But then when you do get there, you need to walk. But there's fishing opportunities at all areas there. All right, so it's Cosgrove's. Anyone got any questions on Cosgrove's Reservoir? Or has anyone fished it? Because I haven't fished for a long time, guys. So I'm not really up to date on it. Anyone had a bit of a fish there recently?
Yeah, I was there.
Yep. Can't hear.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can hear. Yep.
So I dropped in there last year, probably mid-October. We'd been at Wendouree fishing during the day, and despite there being a reasonably good numbers of duns coming off the fish, weren't cooperating. So we headed down to Cosgrove and sort of got there towards the end of the day, and I got a couple of small fish. It was the hatch had finished, but there was a lot of spinners, a lot of orange spinners up against the banks, and the odd fish sort of leaping and jumping and grabbing those spinners. But yeah, huge numbers of spinners, which obviously meant there was a good hatch earlier in the day, but really just a few small fish on them. Yeah,
exactly. I tend to find that as well, and not a great deal of trout as well. But something I need to, and I should have said this at the start of the presentation, is that when I say there's great mayfly hatching and so forth, I'm only highlighting those insects. All of these lakes have, you have your caddis, you have your chironomid, you have your mud eyes, your damselflies, your bait fish. All the lakes have got them, all right, to a certain extent, all right. I'm just highlighting the ones that I feel that sort of like have got the greatest concentration, like good beetle falls. So, like you said, there was mayfly spinners there. So it's got a population of mayfly in Cosgroves as well. To what extent? Yeah, it's that's open to sort of like to a bit of conjecture there, but you know, it does have a population of probably caddis and of mayfly as well. So you need to remember that when you go to any of those lakes. But that's a good observation there, and it's great news too that the mayfly are still hatching, and you know everything is in good order, and it looks like it's still a healthy lake. Would you agree with that? The last person who just talked.
Yeah, I would, Bruce. Yeah, I mean, obviously mayfly sort of correlate well with a healthy system. So to see such large numbers of spinners is obviously indicative that the water quality is good. And
yeah, absolutely.
I think that's positive to see, fish or no fish, regardless.
Yeah, absolutely, fantastic. All right, and next lake, Moorabool Reservoir. Now, obviously, everyone's had a fish at Moorabool Reservoir. Now, as we can see on the satellite photo there, it's a decent sized lake, and it's access into the lake is easy in some areas and pretty difficult at others. So this road here, if we follow this road and come to the sort of like the eastern side of it there's a really long walk through all the pine trees and that to get to the lake. But there's some great fishing around this area here where the eastern shoreline is. And even these little back coves here, there's all little bays in there, and it's absolutely beautiful. You know, if you love nature like I do, you know, you're going to love this area. The bird life is just fantastic. You know, it's just full of everything in this lake. So it's a great lake in that regard. And but if you can't walk like you were saying, Frank, you know, having problems walking, you can just basically park your car right out the front there, and there's a footpath there and a track that goes in. Not a real long walk, and you can go right up and you can fish to that area and this area right there where the dam wall is there, Frank. So that's a good spot for people that are not be able to get in and walk long distances.
Yeah, I did make the mistake of going around the backside there, and yeah, I was almost crippled trying to walk back to my car. Yeah, but one thing I'd just like to ask you, mate, you know, and a lot of the guys are going to hate me for this. Redfin, you catch a lot of redfin out of there as well, because I love redfin, mate. I'd take.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Redfin. You know, there's a lot of people out there that just exclusively fish for redfin because they're beautiful eating guys. You know what I mean? I remember when I was fishing Harcourt one time, and you know, and to catch redfin, just put any on your fly. Just have anything that's red, because they attracted to red something chronic. And I was catching redfin, and I was just throwing them on the bank because now, you know, don't hate me for doing that either. I just don't like to put redfin back in, you know, because I think their populations are too big. So I just threw this redfin onto the bank, and then this bloke, there was this bloke who was down, I reckon, 500 yards, right? A fair distance away from me. And he yelled out to me, he goes, "Mate, hey, what are you doing with that redfin?" I said, "Nothing, mate." He goes, "Can I have it?" And I said, "Yeah, go for your life, mate." So he ran all the way up to me, found the redfin on the bank, and then he walked all the way back again. So I caught another redfin, and I said, "Do you want this one, mate?" He goes, "Yeah, no worries." And he kept on coming up and back, up and back. I was just catching them left, right, and centre, and he was taking every single one of them. And there are fly fishermen out there that just exclusively fish for redfin. And yeah, they're out there, guys. And you know, you'll find redfin in basically all the lakes. You know what I'm saying? So and Moorabool, you know, it does have its redfin population as well. I tend to find. Yep.
Fish you'd ever get.
Sorry, what's that?
They are one of the best eating fish you would ever get.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. You know, I've tried them myself. I just hate cleaning them. That's the hardest part. So yeah. So let's talk a bit in regards to Moorabool. There's awesome mayfly hatches on Moorabool Reservoir, guys. Just fantastic. As you know, you'll find the duns will come up, and if you go back to the satellite, when the spinner hatches are on, these little coves are the best area, because what you've got to realise is with mayfly spinner guys, they want to have calm water that's basically like crystal, like glass, you know what I mean? And then that enables them to lay their eggs and reproduce. So those spinners will hang out in all these little bays that dot along this shoreline here, because all of these pine trees block the wind, all right? So, if you can find areas where the wind's blocked, that's where you're going to find the spinners, all right? And the dun hatches, you'll find them hatch all around the lake, and the main good area for dun hatches is probably around off this point here, okay? And in and around there, there's some great opportunities there. And the dam wall, again, all areas of the lake will produce, but there's certain areas that produce better than others. So that's a great one in regards to that. It also produces great poodle falls because of that vegetation, in the summer and in late summer. And also it has some great bait fishing smelting action as well. But like I said, all the other lakes, the smelting and the bait fish action is definitely dropped off. Any other questions in regards to Moorabool? Oh yeah, and be very careful too, guys. There's been reported a lot of cars getting broken into around Moorabool Reservoir. So I don't know how you combat that. It's basically, I think the feeling is, it's so desolate of people, and where you park your car, there's no one around. So it gives these criminals the opportunity to break into your car because they won't get caught, you know what I'm saying? So I've had my car broken into, I reckon, twice in 30 years. And then another time I got a video there where I locked my keys into my car. Can you believe that? And I couldn't get in. I tried every way, so I had to smash one of the windows, and that cost me $400 to get that fixed. So I don't recommend you do that. So make sure you've got a spare key somewhere. I don't know. But yeah, that was just a bad experience I had on Moorabool there. But anyway, any questions on Moorabool?
Yeah, Bruce, just to Sean here. Any good beetle patterns that you would suggest for just these general lakes around?
Oh, yeah. At the end of the presentation too, so I'm going to have all the flies there.
All right.
So I recommend flies and put the worms in that, right?
Fantastic. Thanks, Bruce.
No worries, Bruce. All right. Any other questions on Moorabool? No? Good. All right. So here's some, just a couple of photos of the lake that I thought I'd throw in. There's the tracks that you walk in through. And then beyond that bush there is the pine trees. And it's a beautiful lake in that regard. Now, Gong Gong Reservoir. Now again, guys, I haven't fished this lake in a long time, all right? I don't know what it's like at the moment. As you can see here, it's at a very low water level. But this photo demonstrates a lot. Up here is high water level. Where the trees are, when this lake fills to the brim, it's right hard up against those trees. So it gives you an idea of how barren the lake is as well, except that the weed beds would eventually grow into those areas and so forth, and how it sort of like declines down. I've found in the past there's been fair sort of like bait fish action. Shrimp patterns work well on this lake as well, and again, good boodle falls because of the vegetation. It's basically 90% of the area is a lot of trees and vegetation. But I don't know what it's like at the moment. So I don't know what the water level is, how it's been fishing. I haven't fished it in probably 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 years. Anyone that's had a bit of a fish here recently?
I fished it 20 years ago, mate, when I was bait fishing still, and
Yeah.
haven't been back since.
But you know, it's worth a go, and I dare say it would be full. But what you got to realise too is this water level goes up and down because they can actually transfer water from this lake into other lakes. There's like an underground piping system, where they can actually have a big influence on the water levels. You know, more on drought sort of like years, which we're not experiencing at the moment. All right. Now, Dean Reservoir. This is another great little lake. As we can see here in the satellite photo, it's very small. But let me tell you guys, there's some great fishing to be had in there. Again, the stockings of the lake are very low. So you'll find that probably, I think they get around about 500, if that, could even be 250. But what fish have been in there in the past that just blow your mind. I've seen trout over 10 pounds that come out of this lake. I had, when I was a fly fishing guide back 20 years ago or whatever it was, I used to take people to this lake, and I had one client there trying to cast, and he was having trouble casting, and he was casting to a trout that was over 10 pounds. And I thought, if he catches this, he's going to be the happiest man in the frigging world. And but he didn't manage to catch it. But it just goes to show you, how the trout can get to massive sizes in this lake. And as we can see here, it's got fair mayfly hatches, good beetle falls, and like I say, really big trout. It's got a fair bait fish population. So if you get to the lake and you don't see any trout rising, or you can't Polaroid any trout, and you need to blind fish and use a searching fly, I'd recommend sort of like your woolly buggers as a searching fly. I've got a number of different, and everyone has got their own different woolly bugger patterns, but I've got one that has an orange bead at the head. I suppose you might be all familiar with it, and it's olive green. And a bit of a tip when you do tie your woolly buggers, guys, is have a long tail on your woolly bugger. So probably 2 hook shank lengths in length away from it, because what happens is the trout, when you have a short tail, it'll wrap around your hook shank, and it can really play havoc with the action of your fly. So I like to have a really long tail so you don't have the tail wrap around the bend of the hook there. The offside is there's always a disadvantage to an advantage. The offside is trout can sometimes nip at your fly, just nip the tail, and you won't hook them. So there's the offside to it. So it's up to yourself whether you want to do it that way with your woolly buggers. Just thought I'd throw in a tip in that regard. Anyone been fishing doing recently?
Yeah, I funnily enough, Bruce, that when I went to Cosgrove last year and said I saw the spinners in good numbers, we went the same day, just prior to getting to Cosgrove, went to Dean and had a look there. And interestingly, being the same day, there was actually no spinners on Dean,
Right.
whilst there were at Wendouree and Cosgrove. So, yeah, it sort of, I guess, lends a bit of weight to your comment about there being, perhaps only fair mayfly hatches there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they're short duration too because of the numbers, so that's another factor as well. It does have a good caddis, or not good, I would say not fair would be a better description of caddis hatches on the lake as well, but nothing to write home about, I should say. And but all in all, Dean's a great reservoir to go, and that's a good thing. Like you just said, you go around to the different lakes. It's fantastic. You can go to Newlands, go to Hepburn, you can go to Dean, and then you can travel across to Cosgrove. So you can go to a whole host of different areas, and something will sort of like create some success for you. There's no worries about that. So Dean's a good one there. All right. Now I thought even though this isn't Ballarat, I thought I'd talk about Cancurran Reservoir, and I'm going to talk about Lauriston and Colburn Reservoir too. The three lakes there. And Cairncurran is a great reservoir, guys. It's got some great fishing. And that's another thing I like to do too, is I like to actually travel to Newlands and maybe Hepburn. And if I don't have any success there, I travel the back way up through Glenningham there and drive up to Cairncurran at Newstead and then drive in. And there's some great fishing to be had there. With Cairncurran, there's some outstanding smelting and bait fish action. You know what I mean? Any bait fish fly that you put on, your favourite one, you're going to get success. And there's also, this is the big one, guys, mud eyes. They are absolutely in overboard population. You know what I mean? It's just amazing how many mud eye there are in the lake. And the best way to fish for these trout is, as you can see, I've got fly fish close to submerged trees. That's what you want to do, guys, is get your mud eye fly. And the fly that I recommend is a Hamel's Killer, all right? That works so well on Cairncurran Reservoir, it's not funny. I've caught that many fish on it, and it's a great representation of the spider mud eye. And if you go in and you can reach with your casting to these submerged trees, and you're just casting in and around, you know, you might be prepared to hook up to a dead branch under the water and lose your fly, but I tell you, it can be worth it because there's some big fish that sort of like, go around these submerged trees. So definitely fish around submerged trees. You're going to have a lot of success when you do that. There's a high crustacean life as well. You'll notice with the trout, if you do keep the odd trout for a meal and so forth, the trout have got, it's bright orange red flesh. And this is a key indication that they've got a strong congregation of crustacean like yabbies, shrimp, and so forth. So those type of flies will be a key indication to what to put on there as well. Anyone got any questions on Cairncurran at all?
The carp take the Hamel's Killer up there too?
I don't know. And this is a great one, guys. I don't know why this is, but all of these lakes have got carp in them. I don't catch them for some reason. I don't know if that's because I hate carp and they hate me and they don't want to come near me or what. But I can tell you, I just don't catch any carp. But there's carp in Cairncurran.
Some monsters.
Yeah, monsters.
Absolute monsters.
Yeah, I can imagine. But yeah.
Okay, Al and me went up there, I forget when it was before all this started, and there is carp, and there is a lot of carp, and they caught a few. I brought one back, and they are good eating as long as you get rid of the bones.
Yeah, I was told a great recipe for carp. What you do is you put carp into a big bucket of water, boiling water, throw in a brick, and you let it cook for a while, and then you take the carp out and eat the brick. So that was my recipe, I was told. But
you're wrong on that one. Actually, carp is a beautiful sweet meat if you can get around the bone.
Okay, yeah, no doubt. And that's the thing. Cooking's the key, isn't it, to a good meal, the way you cook your food and so forth. So I could definitely believe that for sure. So Cairncurran's a good one. Here's some good photos of the lake. As you can see here, this is at a really full level in this year, wherever we were. And these rock outcrops, there's lots of them. And that's why there's high crustacean life because of this. That's a high water level. There's some trout that you can catch. There's like one named Chris Duxon. Now see all those submerged trees, guys, at the background. See them there? Now, if you can get those submerged trees really close to the shoreline, or if you can wade out really close, cast your mud eye fly out to those submerged trees. Just keep constantly doing it and do it for a good while. And if you don't have success, then go to the next tree. And then you'll be amazed at what you will hook into. there's some great fish to be caught. There's another beautiful trout there that was caught. Unusual colours on this trout, I must admit. I mean, he's more of a golden yellow, isn't he? But that was quite a number of years ago, that fish. All right, now we come to Malmesbury Reservoir. Now, Malmesbury Reservoir, it has been reduced. The dam wall has been reduced in size. So what's happened now is when it comes to full level, it's not going out to the way it was and spread out to the way it was probably, I don't know, about 30 years ago. You know, I think, you know, me and my friends were fishing Malmesbury when it was in its prime. You know, the water was getting out over new ground, and the food life that it would produce was outstanding, and the size of the trout that was being caught out of Malmesbury. And even before my time, you talk to the likes of, what's his name? Oh, Jesus, what a blank there. What's that guy's name? He goes around with a wallet and he's got all the photos of all the trout.
Lancashire.
Yeah, that's it, Johnny Lanchester. Yeah, Johnny Lanchester.
Manchester.
Johnny's got photos, and he's caught trout out of Malmesbury like you wouldn't believe. Just massive size fish, and you know, he probably had it in the days when it was even better. But what it's like now, yeah, it only gets to a certain height. Not to say that the fishing probably isn't any good, but I haven't fished it for a while. I haven't fished it for probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 years again, I suppose. But there's some great fishing in Malmesbury Reservoir. Now, there's awesome beetle falls in Malmesbury. There's some great bait fish populations. And like I say, 20, 30 years ago, the populations of the smelt and were just outstanding. It was just, they were prolific. They really were. And we had a lot of success casting our smelt pattern flies. Also, it used to have mayfly hatches. All right, now, when I say used to, I haven't been there in recent times around springtime to see what the mayfly hatches were like, but when I fished it, the mayfly hatches were just as good as Newlands Reservoir. But I can tell you right now, they're not as, well, I don't think they are as good as what they were. And the best fly I had success with, and this is another tip too, if you haven't got any dun patterns or you left them in your car, if you've got a gee-hide beetle, put that on, guys, all right? Because that can be a great mayfly dun imitation. Does the job. And on Malmesbury, it was exceptional. It really was, Malmesbury. So the gee-hide beetle, definitely have a few of those flies in your tackle box for sure. Any questions on Malmesbury, guys?
Full of carp now, Bruce.
Sorry?
Full of carp.
Is it really?
Right.
Oh, geez, that's a shame, isn't it? You know what I mean? Are there trout in there, Ben?
I can't say. I know Chris from the club, you know, he's had some big carp in there quite often. He goes down there, something to do, and just hammers them. So.
Yeah. Okay. And I was going to ask you too, Ben, going back to Cancurran, and I know you love your native fly fishing. How much have you tried Cancurran? And if you do, have you had much success catching the native fish in there?
I know they catch plenty on lures, mate. Really, you know, I'll go down below there and fish Loddon. So
yeah.
You know, I've got the drift boat, and I'll chuck the drift boat on different places down the Loddon below it. So it really depends. I know this time, I think it's around this time of the year when the yellow belly tend to congregate below the dam.
Yeah.
So look, I know there's plenty of cod in Cancurran, and look, the good thing about the heavy stockings of natives is it does impact the carp population as well.
Yeah, right, yeah.
So that's, you know, water's not real clear. It's definitely better than Malmesbury. It's not real clear, but yeah. There's a lot of, I guess, the mud to come back to get to that water, you know, and I guess there's other places I'd rather be fishing that are, you know, more pristine, I guess.
Yeah, I'll tell you a story too. This is going back about 30 years ago when I was pretty young. I used to camp up at Burrinyup there in the caravan park. and that's just below the wall, and you've got the Loddon River that runs right past that caravan park. And I used to fish the river, mainly looking for trout and such. And at that time, I wasn't fly fishing. I was only using lures. I was using a super duper lure. And you know that little retainer, there's a little wall right up, where the main dam wall is? Just below it, there's another, so like a retaining wall, creates a little pool there, a deep pool. Well, I fished in there, and I hooked into some fish. It was the biggest fish I had on, and the only glimpse I got of him was the tail came up, and it was like I had my two hands like that. That's how wide the tail was, and it was round. So I knew it was.
That sounds like a carp, Bruce. No, I'm joking. Just joking, buddy.
No, not back then. I reckon for sure it was a native fish, Ben, and busted me off, and so I never got to see what it actually was. But that round tail told me it was either a Murray cod or something like that. But, it was amazing. It really was. All right, so Marnes Res, we've got a few photos of the lake here. Here's Andy with the fish on, and this is the back end of the lake, guys. I'll go to the next photo. Oh, there's one that's on the western shoreline there of Malmesbury, and as you can see, you could fish at high water levels all the way, and you could be elevated up above the water and cast good distances with your flies and that, and it was great fishing there. It really was along that western shoreline. And there's the southern end. This is what I was saying to you guys. Like when it got a good, you had good rainfall and the lake filled up, it used to come out over new ground, and these trout it was almost like they were tailing fish out of Little Pine Lagoon. It really was. And you'd see them sort of like cruising in amongst all that tussock grass. And as you can see, Andy's got a beautiful trout on there. I think it weighed about 5 pounds, something like that. And he used to have a lot of fish in and around there. And I don't, because they've decreased the size of the dam wall, I don't think the water gets in that area anymore. So that's a real shame. It really is. There's another one along the western shoreline there. That's my friend Neil. So, yeah, really good one. Now, another lake around Ballarat is St George Reservoir. Now, I used to have some great fishing at this reservoir, but I've just recently read that in 2015, they actually drained the lake completely, and they fixed the bottom up. They pulled out all cars that people had drove in there, and they fixed it all up, and they've put boardwalks, and they've really beautified the lake and let it refill again. So I don't know whether the trout are in there like they were, but you used to get some fantastic fishing in the lake. And as you can see here, this is the water spilling over the dam wall down the side there, and it created an amazing waterfall. As you can see there, that's my friend John there, John Gorges. You can see how massive that water that was coming down from the lake there. But in its heyday, there was some great midge population, or great midge fishing, just absolutely thousands of them. When they were flying in the air, it was just clouds of them. It was incredible. So that was probably the main flies we had on was midge flies and so forth. Also had some outstanding beetle and ant falls, and also shrimp patterns worked well there. But like I say, guys, I haven't fished it in about 10 years, I suppose, and I don't know what it's like now. And especially since they've beautified the lake, I don't know if that's had an effect on the fish, or whether they're still stocking. Does anyone know whether they're still stocking St George? Anyone? No? Right, so yeah, so that's something to keep in mind. And I'll have to, once this virus is gone and we're back to normal, I'm gonna have to start exploring and seeing some of these lakes and seeing, what's actually happening to them at the present moment. Now, Talbot Reservoir. This is another one which is down around near Clunes, all right? Now, Talbot Reservoir is a great lake, or it used to be a fantastic lake, and I no doubt it still would be. Great vegetation around the whole lake, lots of trees and vegetation, which can produce some really good fishing. Again, great mayfly hatches, really good mayfly hatches, comparable to, say, I would say Dean or something like that, even though the lake's a little bit bigger than actual Dean, but it did have some great mayfly hatches and still would, like I say. Good beetle falls and ant falls. And also there's a creek. Now, you've got to remember this creek, and I've got a better photo of the creek here. As you can see, it's a dry creek, guys. So what that means is it's during the main summertime, that's all dried out. But when you get it around this time of the year, there would be water flowing out of it, and it would create, and trout do get over and into this creek, and you can catch trout out of this creek at certain times of the year. So that's one to keep in mind too, guys, is Talbot Reservoir, and a beautiful lake too, just absolutely magnificent. And if you go there, you'll get it to yourself more than likely. It's just so out of the way. And another thing too, guys, is get on Google Maps. You'll be amazed at the different lakes that are around the Ballarat area, Creswick, Clunes, all around there. There's just so many lakes that, you know, I haven't even fished. You know what I mean? So, you know, the world's your oyster in regards to that. But yeah, Talbot Reservoir. Anyone been fishing Talbot? Any questions on Talbot?
Yeah, Bruce, Damien Kogan here. I fished Talbot probably just before the last lockdown, and there's some good sized fish in there at the moment, and it's had some good stock in as well. So well worth a journey out that way.
Oh, that's great news for you, Nick. That's sensational. Because I was sort of worried about this lake because, like I say, I haven't fished it for a long time, and yeah, I just love it. And to hear that news has just made me so much happy. That's fantastic. So there you go, guys. Talbot Reservoir.
Calder Club had a trip out there in May, and if anyone finds a McLean net, could they give me a call, please? I lost mine there.
Oh, did you? Okay. It's probably gone by now, I'd say. But you never know your luck there, you know. So, yeah. All right, now.
Sorry, I missed a lot because my server played up and I couldn't get back on, but now I'm back on now.
Oh, no worries. No worries. Okay, now we'll go on to the next lake. And this is, again, I got these mixed up a bit. I should have these in order, but Coleman Reservoir. Now, Coleman Reservoir, as you all know, is the lake that's above Lauriston and Malmesbury, and is the main collector of water there. Now, Coleman Reservoir is a great lake as well, and I've fished it quite a lot, probably in recent, like before the lockdown, I was up there fishing, and then there's some really good smelting action in the lake, and mayfly hatches as well. And I'd only classify them as fair. I wouldn't say they're in big numbers or great, but they do have mayfly hatches there. There's good beetle falls in the lake. And also, guys, the upper Coleman River. Now, that has some excellent fishing, guys. Now, if you can take time, you know, you go to the lake, fish the main lake. If you don't have any success, go to the upper Coleman River and walk along there, and you'll see some there's some nice head of trout in there. Sorry? Huh? I think I'm hearing me feedback there. Sorry. Yeah,
in my younger days,
yeah,
we used to go up there every weekend and fish them, and they were great, but now they're just a creek.
Yeah, it's not as good as what it used to be. It's not as its former glory, is it?
No way, no.
And I agree with that. And I really sort of like wonder, you know, do they actually stock it? You know what I mean? Because like you'd think such a a great lake. It's just got all the food that the trout need to survive. It's got all the cover. It's got everything, and you know, they're very hard to come by, and that's quite amazing. That, but yeah, like I say, the upper Coloman River, if you give it a fish with some nymphs or even a search and fly, you'll come up with a bit of success there for sure. So you don't disregard Coloman. And that's one of the when it really rains up around that area, you get a lot of waterfalls created, and you can see just this one little thing which is dry most of the year. But in winter and around this time of year, there's waterfalls formed everywhere. It's quite amazing. And if you fish those areas where the waterfalls are, that's where the food's going to be concentrated. So you know, they're sort of like key points to go to when you do fish these lakes. And at Lauriston Reservoir, which I think is the next one. Yeah. So we've got Lauriston Reservoir now. Now on Lauriston, there's fantastic populations of baitfish. There's some excellent populations of shrimp in the lake. There are fair hatches of mayfly, and in particular, there's a unique black spinner on Lauriston Reservoir. Now, I don't know if any of you guys have come across this mayfly. It's a different species to the Leptophilubidae that we see on Newlands and on Hepburn Lagoon. This one's a different species. And you can tell it's a different species because it's obviously a black spinner, but it's got white tips on its tail. And I only find this spinner in and around Lauriston Reservoir. None of the other lakes do have this species of mayfly. And it's interesting to note too that Lauriston has a good population of mayfly, where Coloman Reservoir does, and Malmesbury, but to a lesser extent, I feel. There's a lot more on Lauriston Reservoir. Another good point too, guys, is summertime. There's some great grasshopper fishing around Lauriston Reservoir, because along the southern shoreline of Lauriston Reservoir, it's all open paddocks, and there's a lot of tussock grass around those edges there, and there's a lot of grasshoppers, and also in and around the high cliffs of so that would be the western shoreline, you know, where they close it off. Along there, you know, you've got high cliffs, and you can actually walk along there, and you can polar a trout. And if you cast out a grasshopper fly, I'll come up and take it, no worries in the world. So there's some good grasshopper fishing on Lauriston Reservoir. Not big numbers, nothing like if you were to fish, say, you know, Rubicon River or something like that. But it has a good population of grasshoppers there at Lauriston. Anyone else had any similar experiences on Lauriston? Especially the mayfly. Anyone seen that mayfly? No, okay. So, yeah, so Lauriston Reservoir, another great lake to fish. There's some photos there of Lauriston when it's at a full level. Now at Lauriston, along this shoreline here, there's a house there. Go to it, ask for permission to get on, and they rarely refuse. Go down and walk along this shoreline here. Now at this time of the year, there's water around these high elevation here. There's lots of little waterfalls. They're only sort of like little streamlets, you know what I mean? But what happens is they're bringing in food. And if you see these little streamlets flowing of water into the lake, fish that area, and you'll be surprised what you'll catch. You'll have a lot of success, you know, fishing. And, you know, along that shoreline there, you would probably have about, you know, a dozen different little streamlets coming in, even, you know, from very small, you know, say a foot wide to a big waterfall, you know, 6 feet wide. You got all different ones as you go along there. That only happens around this time, winter and spring, when we have a lot of rain. So this end of Lauriston Reservoir can produce a lot of fish. and aquatic beetles too are successful there. Now we come to recommended fly patterns, guys. Now, when I say recommended fly patterns, these are just flies that I like to use, all right? Now, no doubt you guys would have your own fly patterns that you favour, and you know, and don't stop fishing them, you know what I mean? These are just suggestions that I like to recommend. Now, for weighted mayfly nymphs, so the first stage of the mayfly, we need to get our nymphs down pretty deep so we can search with them for them with our nymph patterns. Pheasant tail nymph's a great one because, you know, the copper wire adds that weight, gets that fly down nice and deep. Another fly, as you can see here, is called the Burke's nymph. And this Burke's nymph was developed by fly fisherman Bill Burke. I think he's passed away now, but Bill fished this fly on the Goulburn River. And I fished the Goulburn River a lot, and Bill told me about this fly and he showed me it, and it's a really great one. He reckons it represents a caddis in the Goulburn River that's particular to the Goulburn River, but I haven't seen that actual insect in its natural form. But anyway, I've fished this Burke's nymph in a number of different areas, and it's got a lot of weight. I put in a lead wire weight at the forax there, and it gets it down nice and deep. So that's what I'd recommend for any weighted nymph patterns. Now, emerging nymph flies. Again, there's a million out there, guys. You've got the shaving brush. You've got your bean ball emergers. You got so many different emerger patterns, it's not funny. But if you really just want to get a basic emerging nymph pattern that works well, just tie yourself up a seal's fur nymph. Basically, you just cockhackle fibres for the tail, seal's fur, run a hackle through the thorax, a little stub of pheasant tail just there, a short little stub, and that works a treat, guys. We've also developed a fly called the Smith emerger. Now this one is tied out of marabou fibres, and if you look at my latest video up on YouTube, I've got a pattern there. It's a saltwater crab pattern. Now, I developed that fly because I wanted to tie something. You know, you could use deer hair, right? That's fine. Deer hair is a good material to work with. But I find using the marabou feathers as the fibres, and if you haven't seen my video, I actually use a dubbing loop and I spin the fibres and then create a body of the marabou feather. And what this does is it looks like a crab pattern, and it also comes alive. It just pulsates in the water. And it's like this emerging nymph as well. As you can see, I've got the foam head there, which keeps it up. And what the marabou fibres do is they absorb the water and get it down. Because if you actually look at the natural mayfly or emerging nymph, they don't sit on the surface, they don't sit under, they sit right in the meniscus, right in the surface film. They're half in, they're half out, all right? So that's why I tied up this fly, and that's a great pattern if you want to tie it. Again, I've got that pattern up on YouTube if you do want to tie that fly. Then we go to the next stage of the mayfly, and what I recommend there is the Highland dun. I find that a great one. There's another fly, the cripple dun. That again represents a dun that's half in the water and half out of the water. And the Highland dun, it's a ripper too. That sits right up on top, nice and high. And when you do fish any dun patterns, guys, and it's a windy day, make sure you gink up your leader. As soon as your fly is not drifting the same speed as the actual natural, the trout are going to knock it back. And so you need to make sure that your fly is moving the same speed as the naturals. And so ginking up your leader and even the first section of your fly line will achieve that, hopefully, depending on, you know, if it's real windy or, you know, what the conditions are like. Now for the next stage, I recommend the Macquarie Red, you know, as celebrated by David Scholes in his books, the Macquarie Red. And when I read that, I just tied it up, and I haven't looked back since. You know, this fly just does the job for me every time. But again, guys, there's millions of different mayfly spinner patterns, and yeah, keep experimenting and try different types as you go along. And then the last stage is the spent spinner. All right, this is one that's tied by Johnny Rumph again, and it's representing the spent spinner stage. And it's I've got the YouTube video up there on my channel showing you how to tie this fly. It's very complicated, it's difficult, but you know, it's a challenge, guys. You know? And when you do tie it up, you're going to have success with it. No worries in the world. Definitely have success. Now, bait fish and smelting patterns. Right? There's a million out there, guys. Again, like any of the other patterns out there. But I could recommend any Matuka fly. And the great thing about the Matuka is you can change the colours. You can change the colour of the body. You can change the colour of the wing. You can have, you know, top part one colour, bottom part another colour. So you can really chop and change with your different colours with the Matuka fly. And it's a great pattern and easy to tie as well. The other fly, as I mentioned before, is the bag fly, which was shown to me by Ron Masson. And as you can see, it's got red throat hackle. That is a standout for the pattern. But the great thing about the pattern is it works just under the water surface, probably only about 6 inches, that's all. And then if you want to get your fly down a little bit further in the water column, try a Klauser minnow there. All right. And then we go to boodle and ant falls. Okay, just for your fly that wants to work down deep, boodle pattern, use a chenille boodle. Just tie your boodle out of chenille with a wing case over the top. There's a deer hair ant. That's the favourite I like when I want to imitate any ant pattern. I use that pattern there. You can change colours. You can use yellow for termites and so forth. And the good old red tag. Everyone knows about the red tag. That's a brilliant fly as well. And then we go to my recommendation for mud eyes. Okay, for Cairn Curran and a number of other lakes, Hamel's Killer is a ripper for the spider mud eye imitation. You know, you've got to have these flies in your bag. Definitely. You're crazy if you don't. And also the cordial fly, right? This fly was tied by Fred Dunford, and I'm going to have a video showing you how to tie this fly to his original tying recipe, which is deer hair body and a deer hair head. You can bypass it by using foam for the body or the head and the deer hair fibres coming out from the legs. But this is a great pattern because, again, it actually floats in the water surface, which the mud eyes do. And I remember fishing at Lake Yukonboon one year here. I fished the gorgeal fly and all my mates didn't have one and they weren't catching any fish and I was catching them, you know, one after the other. And then I had to give all my flies that I had to them and they all lost theirs. I lost mine. That was it. We never got any more fish after that. So, yeah, I learnt my lesson there. Don't give out too many flies. But, yeah, that's a great pattern to tie up. And for a shrimp pattern, I like this pattern, the clear shrimp. Basically, it's using, you can use monofilament or you can use specialised material from the tackle shops to create the body there. You've got the eyes and then you've just got the feathers there, the striped feather, which would be the mallard feather, to tie that in there. And caddis patterns, fly along stick caddis for your stick caddis fly, I like that one. Your black outclear caddis and your creel caddis. That's another fly I developed, the creel caddis. A lot of people had a lot of success with that fly. Now, if people don't know, I tied the creel caddis because I wanted to, the wings are concave out, and so they give the appearance that the fly is moving just through the positioning of those wings. Now, a lot of people might think that's a bit far-fetched, but if you look at the old English fly patterns, you'll notice that when they tie the wings in on their dun patterns, they're at a 45-degree angle. They're actually spared out. Now, if you actually watch a dun hatch, next time there's a real lot of them on the water surface, have a look, get down really low, have a look at the mayfly, and you'll see a lot of the mayfly will have their wings closed together, like say the Highland dun, But there's also a lot of those mayflies will have their wings apart as they're drifting downstream or on the lake. So, sorry, yeah.
What's your fly tying channel, mate? YouTube channel? What's it called?
It's called In Nature's Realm, and it's just put in Nature's Realm, and you'll come up with my channel there.
Yes.
I'll have to put up. You can't do live links here on this, can you? So that's why I didn't do it. So, but anyway, I'll sort of like if maybe you could do something there, Douche. You said before you could.
Yeah, I've already posted one link in the chat. If you open the chat by clicking on, I think there's a section there called More.
Yeah.
You can then open the chat and scroll up. You'll see where I posted the video to everybody.
Yeah, right.
Which is video number 40 for the damsel nymph. Yep. But if you go to the video section on the page, you'll see a whole bunch of other other videos there as well.
Exactly. And now we're coming to the end, guys. Well, that was all the recommended fly patterns. Were there any questions in regards to any of those fly patterns that I recommended? Anyone got any questions in regards to anything?
What about for the cockchafer beetle? What do you use for those? Can get those hatches on dusk.
The which beetle, sorry?
The cockchafer beetle.
Oh yeah, cockchafer beetle. Yeah, you could tie up something that looks exactly like them, but I mean, really, you just need a fly that's going to imitate, that typical or that type of beetle in size, shape, and colour, Ben. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like a red tag would work, a cocky bondu would work. Any of those type of, or your own favourite ones. There's a few foam ones out there that are really good too. So what I would do is I would just change the colour. So whatever beetle you do have, find out what the colour is, and then change the colour to that beetle, and that should suffice. In regards to that, Ben. You know what I mean?
Cool.
Now, as you can see there, that's my fly fishing channel. Now, in future videos on my channel, I'm going to do the quail dun, which is another great pattern which was developed by Barry Lodge in Tasmania, and he's got a grouse little dun pattern that I had a lot of success. I went through my diaries just the other day because I kept the diary for about 15 years, and I went through the diary and I used to fish the quail dun, and I don't fish it anymore. So I thought to myself, geez, I forgot all about that one. You know what I mean? So it's a really good fly to use, and it's just another dun pattern. And like I said before, I'm gonna have one up that's out of the Ripples, Runs and Rises book, which imitates an adult dragonfly. It floats on top. It's amazing, guys, when you do see it. And so if anyone wants to subscribe to my video channel, that'd be great if you could. And also, I put up occasionally saltwater flies as well. And I do want to start tying some native fish flies too, Ben. So I'll be looking forward to getting a few ideas from yourself.
We'll have to catch up, Bruce.
And we'll have to catch up, Ben. And if you could, we could probably put up a few of your patterns that you've tied, and to show people as well, which would be great. I think.
Happy to.
Yeah. All right, guys. So, any questions in regards to today's presentation? I hope I've covered, most of the things that you need. I know a lot of you guys are experienced fly fishermen, and I'm probably talking to people that really don't need to listen to this. But if there was any beginners out there, I hope I helped you out. And so thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you, Bruce. Really appreciate it. Thanks to Stephen again for organising the Zoom link. And of course, Porter Fly Fishing Boys done the other side, Dushan. Bruce, it's a great presentation, mate. And especially up and coming opening of the season, hopefully all those pads will come in handy.
Yeah, let's hope there's a vaccine created, or something happens where we can get out to some normality again. You know what I mean? Geez, it's really starting to affect me. I don't know about you guys, but yeah, it's starting to affect me. So, you know, if you think, you know, you're getting down on that, you know, you're not the only one, you know. So, but we just got to persevere with it. I think the government are doing the right thing. I think Dan Andrews is, you know, he's looking after the people, which is important, I guess. But by the same token, you know, you can see some of the people that it's affecting people in different ways. And, yeah. But anyway, you know, it's got to end someday. Jeez. But, yeah. Anyway.
Hey Bruce, you mentioned there about digging up your fly line to get the duns to move across the water. What did you mean by that?
Sorry, say that question again, sir.
You mentioned there about moving your dun patterns across the water, keeping them dun.
Yep, I got you. Now, what we're talking about there is, right, when the duns hatch and it's a windy day and there's a lot of wave action, if it's nice and calm, you haven't got a problem. Just you see a dun and a trout take your fly, you just cast your dun pattern out and just let it sit. Now, that's if it's calm water. But if there's a lot of wind blowing, what actually happens, you'll see the duns drifting, because what they're doing is they're drying their wings. So they'll drift along the water surface, and then when they're doing that, you've got to make sure that your dun, when it lands on the water, is drifting at the same speed as the dun. So if your dun, if the natural is going as faster than your fly pattern, the trout will ignore it, they'll knock it back, all right? So what you do is, you've got to make sure your flies got, say, gink on it and floating, make sure the leaders all got gink on it and floating, even, you know, say the first 10 feet of your fly line. And that way, you'll drift the same as the natural, or you'll get as close as you possibly can to drifting as the natural. Do you understand what I mean by that?
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, no worries in the world. Yeah, definitely do that. But also remember too, if to take that gink off if you do another technique, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fuller's Earth's a good one to get it back to a normal situation. Any other questions, guys? All right.
Thanks very much, Bruce. Really good.
Thank you,
really
Bruce.
informative.
No worries. Thank you very much. And
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear. Yep.
Yep. Yeah, you said when you first started off, you like saltwater fishing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it, and I love fishing in salt water. Can you give us a few tips on that? I mean, you know.
Yeah, definitely in the world. No worries, Frank. What I can do there for you, Frank, is you know, with your saltwater fly fishing, what you've got to realise is that Victoria is probably not the best state for saltwater fly fishing, but there are great opportunities available to you. Now, if you're saltwater fly fishing from the shoreline, it can be very difficult. But what I tend to do, Frank, is I go up to Barwon Heads and I fish along the Barwon River and also the mouth of the Barwon River, and even the surf beaches, shorelines. You can get a lot of sort of like Australian salmon. You can get a lot of trevally. You can get a whole host of different fish. But what we've got to accept is that you know, the saltwater fly fishing isn't as great as it is, say, let's say, for example, up in Weipa. Now, I travelled up to Weipa 1 year there, and I got that many different saltwater fish. It was just amazing, and the size. Queenfish, I got, you know, it was just another world, Frank. It really was. But we do have opportunities in Victoria, and it's just a matter of getting out there and experimenting with different flies and different techniques, and you know, getting people that are experienced. There's a lot more people that are, you know, really highly experienced than what I am in saltwater fly fishing in regards to location. And I think too, having a boat is a dead set advantage with your saltwater fly fishing. You can get.
So we can't do it offshore.
You can do it offshore, no worries. You can do that, Frank. You can do it, no worries in the world. There's, you know, you've got Queenscliff, Barwon Heads. There's a whole host of different areas you can go to, but it's not going to be as great as what someone going out in a boat would have the success. But you can have success. Don't worry about that. So far.
Werribee. What's the Werribee?
Oh, Werribee. Well, yeah. Well, that's a good question. That in Werribee, estuary perch in the Werribee River. Now, there's a fly fisherman by the name of Max. We actually talked through Facebook and on the phone, and we were going to get together, and he was going to show me some spots along the Werribee River where he catches estuary perch. And he was saying that these estuary perch are only available in the river at certain times of the year. And we just haven't been able to coincide it with sort of like work and so forth to get out and meet and actually fish the Werribee River. But there's apparently estuary perch in the Werribee River. At Bungie's Hole, there's trout at Bungie's Holes. I caught a 4-pound brown trout once, just showing my daughter, this was years ago, what fly fishing was all about. And I hooked up into a 4-pound brown trout out of the Werribee River. I couldn't believe it.
Right.
Yeah. So, there's opportunities galore in the Werribee River. And brim fishing, that's another one. Frank?
I'll throw the trout back and take the redfin. No worries.
Sorry, Frank?
I'll throw the trout back and take the redfin.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, redfin, they're absolutely beautiful, aren't they, Frank? You're right.
They are, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm right. So, there's some great opportunities. And like I say, guys, I wish I had taken up saltwater fly fishing a lot longer, but I was just so enthralled with trout fishing, and it just overtook my life. There wasn't a time where I wasn't either thinking about fly fishing, reading about fly fishing, talking about fly fishing. I was fly fishing mad. But as you get older, you see, sort of like wanes away sometimes. And, I've lost a bit of my mojo, but it's coming back. And I think this pandemic's sort of like created a situation where we're not taking things for granted anymore. You know what I mean?
I'm 67 myself.
Yeah.
When I was younger, we used to travel miles over land to get fish, and I know how it started, and yes, and I'd like to get to talk to you in person and meet you, and But anyway, let's see how things go after all this bullshit.
Yeah, absolutely. So I can't wait to get back out there, guys. I really can't. It's going to be great.
It's same as us all, mate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, guys, better wind it up, eh?
Thanks for your
fantastic presentation, Bruce.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Is that Louis? Oh, g'day, Louis.
Yes, Louis, you recognise my name. Oh, and my face.
Yeah, I recognise
Good on you, Bruce.
You're the same as me, mate. Your hair's growing a bit longer. I haven't been able to get the hair. Hey, have a look at this. Have a look at this. This is why I'm wearing a cap. Look at my hair.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's terrible.
I've been too scared to have any hairdressers, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've got a mullet in the back there.
Unreal.
Yeah.
No worries, Louis. Thanks very much.
Thanks, great, Bruce.
Can't
Fantastic.
wait to get back to the back at the club rooms, you know what I mean? And and meet everyone up again and have our talks and things in person, you know what I mean? And shake hands again.
Oh, yeah. Indeed.
Absolutely. All right, guys.
Okay.
Right.
Bruce.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'll say goodbye now. I'll switch off and we'll have to meet. We'll meet up when we meet up. Yeah.
Yep. Will do.
All right. Okay.
Hey, good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye now.
To win.
See you, Ray.
Cheers, mate. All the best.
Dear. Well, we had a great turn up tonight. Good.
Yeah, how many did we have, Luke?
I didn't count them. But
Okay.
94.
94.
wow,
Yeah.
that's good, Stephen. Fantastic.
All right.
Yeah, good number.
Good one, mate.
All right.
Yeah, well, I think Bruce has topped the list now.
All right, guys, I'm going to end it.
Yeah,
So,
okay.
see you all later.
Stephen.
Thanks.
Thanks, mate.
Bye.
Thanks. Cheerio. Good night.